welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week we got a ton of news, plus a bunch of other information from outside sources like community creators, some different interviews, all these things and more on this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. All right, pirates. First up, I just want to say if my voice sounds a little different, it is because I am coming off of a really nasty cold, something that my wife took a week off to try and get rid of. And of course, if you were ever around anyone that's sick, you know you're going to get sick. So obviously you're going to get a little darker, deeper voice than naturally. But I did want to cover a lot of the different things that are coming out this week. And all of it kind of prefaces the next tall tale that we're getting March 11th. We're getting a new update March 11th. It looks like it's going to be awesome. It's called the Heart of Fire. They have the Sea of Thieves news came out, revealed a lot of information about some of the stuff that's going to be coming out this update, and also the Heart of Fire trailer. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance to go watch this and you have time to do it right now, obviously if you're driving or you're at work, don't do it right now, but later on you should definitely go check out the Tall Tale trailer for Heart of Fire, because this looks epic. It looks like it's a mix between something out of Temple of Doom and the Goonies. It's amazing. There's so much to kind of unravel with just the tidbits of information that we got from this update. So looking at the Heart of Fire, it looks like we are finally going to be diving into the depths of the world. There's obviously this looks like it's going to be taking place out in the Roar. If you take a look at the videos, it shows a lot of that crystal crag that kind of glows with the embers of like a volcano, and there's a lot of lava lying around. But there are subtle things in this that are just so cool. Some of the different traps that they have. I'm looking at the giant anchor. Now, this is the first major like anchor trap that we've seen. It's a giant pendulum that swings by, and it just kind of goes back and forth as you have to try and jump past it. And I love these kind of things. You see this a lot in other games that are kind of trap based, with like Tomb Raider, Uncharted, God of War, things like that. The biggest change to this tall tale though with the traps is the new fire trap, which absolutely looks awesome. There's jets of fire. I don't know how these are created. Obviously, it's going to be kind of magical in nature, but it looks like a series of sequenced fire jets that you have to try and navigate through. And the biggest deal about these is that it's not going to be like blades or spikes where it's an instant kill, something you could feasibly just run through. And if you have enough fruit or meat on you, then you can just kind of eat your way through that damage. For those of us that are less coordinated, obviously, many of you who have played with me during the Tall Tales know that stationary traps are basically my bane. If it's stationary and it can kill you in one hit, there's a good chance I'll die to it. It's kind of like walking into a parked car. Needless to say, this looks like it's going to be probably one of the coolest updates, and I'm really looking forward just to seeing how this will tie into the lore. Obviously, as we get closer and closer to Flameheart, we're starting to see more of that story kind of unravel. And this is something that they specifically said will lead into that cinematic feel that started with the Seabound Soul. Now, if you remember Seabound Soul, that was with Captain Arthur Pendragon, or Sir Pendragon from the Black Witch on Shipwreck Bay, as we followed him and the tale of two ships that were being chased by one of the Ashen Fleet, and come to find out that Ashen Fleet was actually taking a person, Flameheart's body, his skeleton, to one of the islands out in the Forsaken Shores, and deposited it there until we found it, and then released his spirit via Pendragon. I'm imagining that we'll probably find out a little bit more about how that kind of builds into this story and what's going to happen in the next update, just kind of giving us more lore information and telling us like what's going on with Flameheart, if we'll actually see him or if we're just going to be kind of getting further along till later on when they finally reveal like the big cinematic event. But
this is a pirate survival awareness notice. Due to an unfortunate outbreak of coconut fever, many pirates have recently become disoriented on the seas. Currently, this is something that the Duke is aware of, and attempts are being made to quarantine the issue. At the present time, it is recommended that you switch to a different type of fruit or an all-meat diet. Recent discussions regarding the fever have brought on a list of symptoms you will want to keep aware of when coming in contact with other pirates. Symptoms may include, but are not limited to, mild to severe use of dropping the anchor, burning pineapples, forgetting to talk like a pirate on Talk Like a Pirate Day, and forgetting to sell collector's chests. Many, under coconut fever, have also been seen confused and unaware of where to sell Reaper's bounties as well as Reaper's chests, leaving them abandoned on outposts. While it is unclear how or when the coconut fever came to Sea of Thieves, many suspect that the recent introduction of the Amethyst Soul Capuchin, which was gifted to all pirates who were prime to twitching, are the cause. While there is no current correlation between the capuchin and coconut fever, it is recommended to reduce interactions with the primates. At the current time, there is no cure for coconut fever, and all we can offer is knowledge. Knowledge is power, and all we can hope for is that pirates will be safe on the seas.
so I think that's how we're going to be able to find Flameheart. That'll be pretty cool. Sorry, what was that? It's a PSA over the. Oh, I'm not going to go over that story again. All right, we'll just pick it. We'll just pick it back up where we were. Okay, we'll just go back into the Tall Tale. So as a result of this new Tall Tale being introduced, it is really clear that Rare has learned from the past events and player feedback. A lot of us have done the Tall Tales, and a lot of us were kind of loathing the idea of having to do them 5 times in a row, especially since it's the same exact Tall Tale. This is definitely different. With the Seabound Soul, we saw that we were only having to do that 3 times, which made it a lot easier to complete in the full capacity. And with this one, it looks like it's going to be similar. I don't have confirmation, obviously, but just based on the design of having 3 different paths that you can choose to go through for your pirate to be able to kind of do the commendations for this, it seems like you may only have to do this 3 times and get a unique experience each time, something that I actually really appreciate. Or if you're looking to beeline these commendations and you don't necessarily care about doing them all differently when you go into them, you can just pick one, get really good with it, and then complete the other times during that or through that same path, which I like. I like if there's an easier one to do or not, or just have some variance to it. I really love what they're doing with these Tall Tales. It's amazing to kind of add this flavor to Sea of Thieves, which, if you remember when we started, it was all about just completing voyages to get to Pirate Legend. So with this, the Tall Tale is going to be out on March 11th. I don't know that we can really speak to too much else until we kind of get our hands on it and we can actually dive in and see what little tidbits of lore, if any, are there and why we're actually going into the Heart of Fire. Obviously, this is all kind of leading towards the same end game, but I'm kind of surprised that we're not getting a little bit closer to Flameheart sooner rather than the current rate that we're doing it now. All right, pirates, next up on today's docket, just covering some more information about the Sea of Thieves news video that we got. Something that I think a lot of people are going to be excited for is the Crunch outfit, the Crunch weapons and the Crunch outfits for your pets. Now, this is something that I know a lot of people have really enjoyed. The whole, Crunch eating a banana full peel and all that. It's been something that has been tied to Sea of Thieves since its inception, since the beginning. We had Griffin McElroy who ate a banana on screen live while trying to play it off as though nothing happened. I think it was for Polygon. And I've eaten one twice in the past, both for good causes, for good cause. I didn't have a good cause for it, but we want to be able to respect the crunch. And with that, you're now going to be able to dress up like a banana. So I know a lot of the banana crew and the banana thieves out there are going to really enjoy themselves running around in these yellow outfits that are really themed well. Looking at the weapons, the sword banana, the Eye of Reach banana, they all look great. And I'm kind of debating because I want to see what else comes with the update before I start dropping ancient coin on stuff right away. But I really like that they're doing this. They're giving us something that's a little more kind of community driven instead of just more different things like that. So with this update, we're getting the 2 new weapons. We're getting the chain shot as well as a new blunder bomb, which is a new throwable, which it looks kind of insane. I don't even honestly know like how this is balanced. I just looking at it, it looks like this is going to be the most ridiculous thing ever when dealing with other pirates. And I was watching the Sea of Thieves news, and it had Pedro on it, or Pedro DBR, who it was nice to see that we were getting some variety from the community to kind of represent some of the discussion around some of the different things that are coming to the game. First, if you guys remember, Falcor, who I'm hoping to get on next episode so we can kind of talk lore-wise about the game for next week. He was able to do the Sea News stuff, and this time it was Pedro kind of explaining the blunder bomb. It looks cool in concept. Like, I like the idea of being able to knock people back. You know, we've lost some of that knockback with weapons, and having the ability to choose when to do that is nice. The concern I have is giving us so many tools that it's hard to, well, and I mean, this is fine for PC players because PC players generally have stuff mapped to the number keys, so it's not too hard to cycle through them. But I really am worried about how console players will manage this, especially if you don't have an Elite controller. Your options really are just to have the throwables mapped to like one of the D-pad directions. Like, I know when I usually play, I usually have specific items mapped to the D-pad. Fruit is usually one of them, or food is usually one of those. So I can imagine I'll probably have to shift something like my shovel or my speaking trumpet to something else, or just have to use that on the radio, and make sure that one of my directional pad buttons is dedicated to throwables so that I can cycle through the firebomb and the blunder bomb. It's a cool idea. I love the idea of being able to knock people off ladders. I like the idea of being able to knock people off the anchor, and it's definitely disruptive. But the fact that this actually has functionality against ships as well as pirates is what I think is really the key thing here. Being able to throw a ship who's kind of got good, say if they have a good broadside on you and they have good cannoneers, it is extremely tough to try and get them to keep from just putting so many holes in you. But having a blunder bomb knocks them back. It kind of messes with them, and much like a wave, it really disrupts just how well they can actually aim. So if you cycle in a blunder bomb into your cannon shots, then you can really change the course of a battle when actually fighting someone. You can really knock them off their kind of game, which I love. I love the idea that this is kind of a nice defensive item as well as an offensive item. Just the idea that you can, kind of use it to your advantage when fighting another ship, but also keep people from boarding your ship is nice. It's going to be good for flushing out tuckers if you want to disrupt them. It's also going to be really good at disrupting people who are sword lunging you or trying to use an Eye of Reach. If you can chuck one of these at someone who's scoping down on you, it's going to help kind of knock them off the ship or just knock them off balance, and they won't be able to scope. So It'll also kind of give you some space too. Say if someone's running at you with a blunderbuss and you have one of these in hand, it will kind of knock them back, preventing them that one kill shot, which could definitely help balance some of the blunderbuss out there. Some of the people, like myself included, definitely feel like the blunderbuss is very dangerous if you were able to get a sniper off and then a blender right afterwards. The double gun is definitely a very scary thing if in the right hands. There's a lot that's coming in this update. This update is probably going to be the biggest update that we see or have seen since the monthly cadence has come. I think the biggest concern for a lot of players is just the quality versus quantity. We're getting constant updates, and obviously I've expressed this in the past that I'm concerned about bugs. So I'm just hoping that with this update, we aren't introducing a lot of new tools that in turn bring about a lot of different bugs. Something that I think if people are going into the insider build and testing properly, that feedback can come to the game and actually help out. I know that there's been a lot of changes recently in the insider build, and people should definitely be getting in there to test it out, to see what it's like, and to make sure that they are happy with the way Rare is looking to implement new things. And if you're not, then to express your criticism, your well-constructed criticism on the forums in a way that helps inform your reasons for why you don't like it, instead of just blindly saying, no, I don't like it. But if you get a chance, I definitely recommend it. I've seen a lot of people going out there and getting the further Silver Blade cosmetics. A lot more of those have come out as people have stuck to doing that 1 hour a week. Bear in mind that 1 hour is per week. You can't do 2 hours and skip a week. You have to do an hour a week if you want to continually progress through that, because you're getting 3,000 gold for 2 weeks, and then I think the third week is the cosmetic. Don't quote me on that, because it's been a while since I've taken a look at the reward system, but that's kind of the cadence I remember it being. All right, pirates, next on today's docket, let's move away from the Sea of Thieves video that we got and move into some of the extra stuff that has come around since since last week's episode. I found a couple articles that I think would be interesting for the fans of Rare, the actual company. If you go on to mcvuk.com, there was a business article that came out regarding one of the Rare staffers, George O'Keefe, and how he kind of talked about some of the different things that he's actually done in the game society. I can't remember if I mentioned this on last week's podcast. Towards the end, I think I did, so I won't go too deep into it, but just again, really cool to see that other people are getting different kind of interviews out there to kind of let people know more about who some of the Rare staff are. I'm going to have a link to that article in the show notes if you'd like to read it. It's probably maybe 5 minutes worth of read, so it doesn't take too long. But there is another interview that I didn't get a chance to dive into the way I wanted to, unfortunately. So this is coming to us from the Sound Test, which is a sound-based podcast. They recently did an interview, episode number 8, with Sea of Thieves with Robin Beanland, talking about some of the different challenges with creating music and sound effects for the game. It was a really, really good listen. I got pretty much through all of it. I haven't finished it off just because it was like the last one that I was listening to at work, and I've been sick as since then, so I just haven't been listening to anything. I haven't been doing anything. I've been sleeping. But again, I'll have a link to the YouTube video for that if you'd like to watch it there, or you can go on to your podcatchers just like how you did with mine. Search for the Sound Test. And I believe this is the second season. I can't quite recall, but this was posted back on the February 21st, and this is number 8 with Robin Beanland. I love that the Rare staff is getting out there and talking about the game, talking about their experiences and how they've kind of done different things to bring about the world that we're kind of living in with Sea of Thieves. Just an awesome introduction especially for the sounds of Sea of Thieves. I actually really love that. All right, pirates. So as I slowly degrade in quality, I'm going to try and knock these last couple items off the docket just to make sure that I get them out into the world, to make sure that you have a chance to take a look at them if you're interested. The first one is coming to us from Regis Stella, who is gone far beyond doing just a regular captain's log and has actually created his own fan fiction. So a lot of you who are not familiar with fan fiction, this is basically trying to merge multiple universes together because you're so much of a fan of it. I know I've definitely looked into other fan fictions just in the past as far as like different universes that are now dead, that the only way that those universes continue on is purely through the fan base, creating lore for Tron or lore for Gargoyles, or I think there's even some out there that I've seen where people have tried to create new episodes for the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So this is in that line. This is taking the fanfic from My Little Pony to Sea of Thieves, which seems like an interesting mashup. But this is definitely someone that Regis has gone in and put a lot of his time and effort into writing this. This is something that he actually started off back in October and has been consistently writing chapters of this story up until March. I think the latest episode just came out in March. So it's a lot to read through. So if you do want to dive into that and offer some thoughts or criticisms or just congratulations to taking time to try and build out this story, then you can definitely do it. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. The other one comes in from Alistair Groovybeard, who has an idea that I've been sitting on for a while because I really don't know how to really bring this up, because this is kind of it's an interesting idea, but it's hard to actually try and understand like where I can fit this into an episode to kind of talk about. So I figured now is as good a time as any to get into it, since we're talking about fan fiction and creating your own stories in Sea of Thieves as well as outside of Sea of Thieves. Groovybeard wrote into me with an idea of doing a 2-year anniversary episode where people can kind of write in some of their stories about what their pirate was like when the game started and what their pirate is like now. So he wrote in, he's got a couple other friends who have some stories, but he's already got one that's his first guy, and his name is General Nom. He says, my character Nom was a cartographer and was informed about the seas by a letter from an old friend, but he's taken an interest in studying the curses, artifacts, and general anomalies in the Sea of Thieves. Currently, I'm trying to expand his character to include a story about a mysterious book and a cursed sword that he found on the seas. And for the future, I'm going to make some kind of environment. This is him talking, by the way, some kind of involvement with whatever the stranger's doing. But I don't want to jump on the gun on what Rare's doing with that. So he goes on to tell me the story of Alistair Groovybeard, who was a merchant that came to the Sea of Thieves to escape wrongful imprisonment, something I know a lot of pirates can understand. But throughout the seas, his past came back to haunt him. Currently, that past has come back through his true name, the notorious murderer, Albinus Robichaud. But at times, it lingers, and Alistair is in a mental struggle against two personalities, fighting for control. For the future, Alistair is going to face Flameheart, and the battle will change his life forever. Now, if you have a story of your pirate, much like how Alistair wrote into me, I would love to hear more of these. I'd like to get more of them together to kind of share the tales of your pirates, something that's good enough to, or not good enough, but short enough that I can kind of talk about it on the podcast and hang on to it as soon as I get a few of them, and talk about some of the things that have changed your pirate's character, if that's what you have. A lot of people love to role play, and a lot of people really like to enjoy building up this story of their pirate. Since it's always just kind of our pirate in the game, it makes sense that that they would want to do something to kind of show the passage of time, to show like how your pirates changed, whether it be physical or mental or both. So feel free to share those stories. If for later on, I want to make sure that I kind of share some of your tales. The last thing that I wanted to go over from the community comes in from the professor on the Keelhauled podcast Discord. He writes in a small little excerpt that I really appreciated, that I liked, because it leads into some of the story going into the future of Sea of Thieves. He writes in and says, "I was just a simple sailor when I entered the Shroud. Granted, I had ambitions of gold and glory, but my intentions were not malevolent. Every sail on the horizon offered potential allies, and I had a pledge to only fire if fired upon. Over time, those good intentions began to change as suspicion grew based on repeated encounters with hostile ships. Caution and avoidance became the mode of operation for a time. Everything changed with the season of giving. As I sailed the seas attempting to give gifts away, my generosity was repeatedly met with cannon, sword, pistol, and flames, even when I tried to include a Reaper's chest in the bargain. Repeated encounters with Flameheart's minions and the evil intent of the denizens of this sea have turned my heart cold. I am beginning to see Flameheart's point of view. The seas must be purged. The seas must burn." Pirates, again, because of the circumstances, I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. I do apologize for the lack of content, but I am struggling here. If it's not apparent, I do apologize. So hopefully this will subside and I can get back to normal next week. This week we have the Heart of Fire Tall Tale coming into the game, as well as the Chain Shot, the Blunder Shot, and a whole bunch of mischief and hijinks to be had. So I hope you all have a wonderful time. I will be diving into it on Wednesday as well. Don't forget, you can buy the Valiant sales till March 11th. Those are the St. Jude charity sales. I have mine. I love them, and I'm glad that I could have helped to support the cause. Pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I hate doing shorter episodes because it doesn't feel like I'm doing you justice, and I want to make sure that I do you justice with every episode. It was suggested that I don't even do an episode this week, and if you know me, you know that's not really possible. So if you have a chance, please, I apologize for this episode. Again, I'm so sorry. I really wanted to give you a good episode this week. I had such cool ideas and plans, and I got one of those in, but it just doesn't feel like it's been done justice. So I'm hoping that you'll give me a mulligan on this one, and we'll pick back up with the awesomeness that I try to do every single week for you. If you want to show your love, if you want to show your support, there's many ways that you can do that. Feel free to write into me with your captain's logs or your first mate's logs. Share your stories with me, either through Discord or Twitter, email, Facebook. You can always sign up for the Keelhauled podcast on Facebook. I'm on there. If you want to share the podcast itself, you can always find it on iTunes, Google Play. You can find us over on Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. We're on pretty much all the platforms. So just search for Keelhauled podcast and you'll find me. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can always reach me on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always send me an email at CaptainLogun or CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. And you can always join the Discord server. Links are always in the show notes. There's merchandise available if you'd like to buy some to support me. I just recently got some influx for cash for that, which helped pay off some of the production costs. So I streamed the other night and I had a good time with that. So when I'm back up to 100% and I'm back on my game, I'm going to be jumping back into streams and trying to get some more content out there for you so that you can have multiple ways to engage if you want. And with that, Pirates, gosh, I had a really good time. I really had a good time this last week, and I had a good story that I wanted to share about my voyages with DJ Redcap or Captain Redcap on Australia servers, because I feel like I brought a little bad luck to him. But I'm gonna have to save that story for a different time when I can share it properly. But pirates, I'm gonna head back to bed. I'm gonna go lay down and try and get over this. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Don't lick things. Whatever you do, don't. Listen to me. Don't lick things. Please. And with that, pirates, that's going to do it. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.